Today, I'm going to talk about the history of hanbok and contemporary design of it. So what is hanbok? Hanbok is a traditional Korean garment. It literally means clothes worn by Korean people. The beginning of hanbok is known as hobo, which is the origin of the Sukhitai style of the ancient northern people from Asia. What's encouraging is about did not differ much between woman and man until the 14th century, according to the records. The first time hanbok was recorded was in Goguryeo. Korea was divided into three countries, known as Goguryeo, Baekje, and Silla. Their garment style were different, but according to Shilla's record, they shared the form of clothing. During this period, all countries in Northeast Asian cultures across the Korean peninsula had similar forms of clothing culture. The composition of hanbok in that time were based on jeogori, the top of the clothes, durumagi, like coats, pants, skirt, and thin or white belt, and even hats and shoes were completely composed, and earrings are almost mandatory for men and women of all ages. The characteristic of Goguryeo hanbok is it has white pants and white sleeves. Silla was a country with advanced art, so gold patterns are engraved on clothes. Baekje developed a unique and aristocratic sense of beauty and showed the most feminine characteristics of the three kingdoms in hanbok. The next period of three kingdoms was the Goryeo dynasty, which lasted from 918 to 1318 and was the origin of the name of Korea. From this period, it was not big different from the Three Kingdoms period. And that time, tank-style clothes became popular, which made clothes wearing skirt over jeogori style appear. Goryeo women enjoyed wearing yellow skirt, and the longer and richer the skirts, the better. The next period is the Joseon Dynasty, 1392 through 1910. Joseon's hanbok is not much different from modern hanbok. So in the early Joseon Dynasty, the sleeves and waist of jeogori were very long, and the length of the jeogori began to decrease after Japanese invasion of Korea in 1592. And after Qing invasion of Joseon in 1637, Joseon people began to wear jeogori shorter and at the same time began to use norige, an accessory. From the 18th century, the length of the jeogori began to decrease earnest and the chest cover was worn to prevent the chest from being exposed. So here's an example of the early Joseon Dynasty hanbok and the late Joseon Dynasty hanbok. Man clothing affair that they called dofu. It is our garment that scholars and aristocrats usually wear. It was one of the most formal clothes in Korea. At the end of Joseon Dynasty, it became close to the image of hanbok today, and at the same time, not of hanbok or gorum was highlighted, and at the same time, the suiting from the west and round sleeves were introduced. In the 70s, the width of collar was narrowed to form a V shape, which was maintained until the early 2000s. As such, hanbok has a long history, but nowadays, hanbok is close to wear special clothes worn for festival and celebration than normal clothes. As the demand for young people in Korea is also disappearing, it is becoming rare to wear hanbok. The reason is that Korean history has changed rapidly. After the Korean War, Korea began to grow rapidly. It became important important to change clothes quickly accordingly, and the trend passed quickly. Such a rapid change in fashion has led to a perception in society that hanbok is bad compared to overseas clothes. Therefore, hanbok was pushed out of everyday clothes, and since the 90s, it has become an image that even wearing hanbok on holiday is tacky. As the perception of hanbok was poorly established by the generation of father and mothers, the image of hanbok was not good for the generation of their children. Still, efforts have recently been made to fashion hanbok to suit modern clothes. For young people, skirt and joguri with designs similar to modern clothes began to emerge, and designers also used design influenced by hanbok. In the 2020s, hanbok has attracted great attention due to the success of Korean historical drama abroad, and the K-pop celebrities start wearing modern design hanbok, which makes the number of hanbok brands targeting young people has also increased. So based on this background, I want to reinterpret hanbok as a modern fashion. I try to create a modern Korean mass fashion hanbok style by mixing it with modern design. And these two designs are the result of this idea. For the first design, I want it to include high teen and rock chic style, which are mainly used in Korea. The black color was often used in official uniforms and royal families. So I used the black to give unique luxurious feel, and in between I gave it a point with gold color lines. The upper part used the joguri of hanbok, giving it a jacket feel, and made the sleeves of the joguri narrowed, which is the same as 19th century style. That makes the arm accentuated, slimmer. There's a odgorum, a strap that is tied to adjust the top. I put a buckle on it to give it a feeling of a belt. In addition, white was added to the collar, which is the part that wraps around the neck, giving a contrasting feeling. The collar was made in the shape of the early Joseon dynasty because I wanted to give a wider feeling and show a standout appearance. The sleeves of the jagori was fitted with the clothes called gutong, which I painted gold to give it overall color continually. The waistline is hidden by jagori, but the straps on the underwear were sticking out of jagori for making the viewpoints to the waistline. In addition, I put the norige that were often attached to the hanbok of the Joseon dynasty around the waist, giving points around the waist-like fringe. And traditional hanbok skirt has a long length that require covering all of its legs. But according to recent Korean fashion, I choose and applied a design that reveals its legs. The overall appearance of the skirt followed the early Joseon hanbok. Also, the waist of the hanbok skirt in the late Joseon dynasty was wide. It was less wrinkled and were more abundant. But I wanted to give it the feeling of the pleat skirt that was widely used in the high teen style. So I choose the early hanbok skirt with less wide and has more folded lines. Hanbok is characterized by wearing it in layers. So I tried to make it looks like a pointed point by making the skirt two layers and making the bottom of the top skirt a gold color. You can see jade accessories and clothing part in jade color uh, in this clothes. Jade was used a lot in valuable in Korea, so I put them in to give a view, to give a luxurious feeling. I put stocking and shoes that are about 80 deniers in this illustration because I wanted to emphasize a more modern fashion. The second design is a modern hanbok with a white base. White color is the most basic color in Korean hanbok. It was a favorite color worn by all ordinary people during the Joseon dynasty. For this reason, I choose this because I wanted to use the most common color. Also, since white is used a lot in winter fashion, the feminine style and Western look, which are popular in winter in modern Korea, are the base style, and the overall motif is a blouse, coat, and dress. What influenced me the most about this idea was the dress worn by Korean figure skater Kim Yeona during the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics. Because her dress design was so elegant, I thought designing hanbok for this kind of dress would be very suitable for the modern trend. So I tried to give a needed look by making the length of the jogori as long as the medieval hanbok. And I gave 2 layers of joguri to make it looks like a vest that used a lot in winter fashion. The tip of the joguri arm used a part called 고들지, not the same as gutdong design above. Unlike gutdong, 고들지 is used to add fabric instead of connecting into one and tries to give a similar effect to the sleeve rolled up coat. Since it used white, I wanted to give a round impression overall, so I tried to make the skirt wider like a skirt in the late Joseon dynasty and make the length shorter to give an effect like an A-line skirt. Jogori's 옷고름 is highlighted in pink. The reason is that I want to give a cuter style, so I designed it with the ribbon-like shape. The design of the boots was inspired by Korean sock boson and the winter shoes tagori. And this is a result of the design that reinterpret hanbok according to the current generation. Since I was also a generation less interested in hanbok, I learned a lot while I do this. And it was an opportunity to check the tradition of Korean once again. And while working on this, I also learned about the beauty of our tradition clothes once again. And then this is the source that I use for the research. And thank you.